Don't stop.
Hi, thanks so much for joining me in the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman. Today, I want to talk a little bit about, the process of coming out and being honest with yourself, coming out of the closet and admitting not just to yourself, which is hard, but also admitting to other people that you are part of the LGBTQ plus community. So whether you're a gay man, a bisexual woman, you're a lesbian, you're transgender, wherever you fall in the alphabet, you have to admit it to yourself first. And that can be an incredibly tough job to do. And I grew up south of Miami in the late 80s, early 90s. I was in high school. And, I would think about being gay. I was in complete denial with myself. I'm like, there's no way I'm gay. There was the whole AIDS crisis that was happening. Rock Hudson had AIDS and died of AIDS. So I'm like, if you're gay, you're going to get AIDS and die. That was what I thought, because that was what was being portrayed across media and back then. And I look back at that time and it was so sad. Luckily, kids today in today's world are able to come out more younger and more openly, and parents are accepting it, and families are accepting it, and friends are accepting it. That being said, because of this current administration that we have, with all the anti-LGBTQ and the transgender bills that are trying to be passed to hurt the community, that is pushing people back into the closet. I think in a lot of ways, it's scaring people. And you look at how people are being punished for being immigrants in this country by ICE, and what's happening in Minneapolis. It's just like, what country are we living in? Like, how did we get here? Is what I often think of myself. But I feel very fortunate that my family and all of my friends, I did not have one friend whenever I told them that I was gay that said, I can't be your friend anymore. Not one. Every single friend, my family, it took my father a little while to get there, but he got there. There's an episode that I did earlier in this podcast, an earlier episode when I first started it, where I did my coming out story. Maybe it was a year ago or so, or a year and a half. And, it's hard for any kid to come out. Even if your parents are super liberal, and, even if you have parents that are in a same-sex marriage, I'm sure it's still not easy, because you have friends that you don't know what they're going to think. And it's coming out is a very hard thing. And because you never know what the reaction is going to be. I didn't know if I was going to tell one of my best friends, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, well, I can't be friends with somebody that's gay. You never know, because I avoided this subject as much as possible. I never talked about things that were gay. I remember we were in South Beach one time. Me and my friend Jen and a couple other friends, we were in a car in South Beach. It was probably the early 90s. We were in college. No, maybe, yeah. It was the early 90s. And I remember rolling down the window, and there was two guys holding hands. I remember rolling down the window yelling, faggots. Like, why would I do that? And I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but I regret doing that, because I was doing it to try to prove that I'm not gay. And I remember my friend Jennifer turned around, and she was going to slap the shit out of me, because I was in the back seat. She's like, why would you do that? I'm like, I don't know, because they're gay. Like, I was trying to be, the opposite of who I was. And she was so pissed and upset with me about it. And that stuck in my mind. And I didn't tell her for years after that I was gay, because I don't think I was trying to figure it out. And it's a hard thing to figure out if you're gay, and it's going to change your entire life whenever you finally do come out to somebody. And I'm again, so grateful and thankful that my coming out was not easy, but I could not imagine going through that again. So it's such a tough thing to do. And my guest today knows all these feelings very intimately. For decades, hockey was both his sanctuary and his hiding place, the place where the ice felt steady beneath his skates and the ground beneath him never quite did. He grew up in Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis, the state of hockey where the game isn't just played, it's inherited. He talked about his three brothers that he had, and they were all on skates very early in life. Where toughness is praised and silence is expected, and fitting in can feel like survival. And as much as he loved the sport, he carried a truth that he didn't feel like he had a place on the ice or in the locker room. In our interview, he talked a little bit about, people dropping the word faggot and stuff, when they were playing and stuff. And not that they were calling him, it's just like, it's a very masculine sport. And the thing is, I understand that tension more than anybody. And because even outside the sport, I know what it feels like to walk into the rooms where parts of you feel negotiable, to edit yourself, to soften your truth, to wonder if you're fully honest, what will it cost you to belong, the opportunity, or your safety. And I know what it's like to love deeply a community, a career, a space where quietly asking yourself, is there really room for all of who I am really here? So this episode isn't just about coming out. It's about what it costs to stay silent for years. It's about the exhaustion of carrying two versions of yourself, which we all have done. The one the world sees and the one that you protect. It's about walking away from something you love because you don't think there's room for you in your truth. It's about what happens when you finally find community, peace, and courage to stand fully as yourself. Skates on, heart open. Today, we're talking with Jesse Kortuem about fear, identity, masculinity, brotherhood, and the long, nonlinear road from hiding to healing. And if you're listening right now and you've ever felt you've had to shrink yourself to belong in sports and work and family or in your life, this conversation is for you because visibility matters and so does being honest. And sometimes hearing someone else finally say the words out loud that gives you permission to breathe again. And I could not be more proud of Jesse for coming out. He came out on a Facebook post, which you'll hear about, and he was doing it more for his friends and family, and he came out as a gay hockey player. And he never, ever expected the reaction that he's gotten. And he talks about a DM he got from a kid that came out to his family at a barbecue. And I think there's going to be thousands of more stories he's going to receive about this. And it's all because of Heated Rivalry that made him think it's time to come out. And he is a role model, and I think he is an amazing person for coming out. And I'm so proud of him. And the interesting part is of this story, then I'll get right into the interview, is that I have another podcast called Listen Up Girl, where I do LGBTQ plus news like 4 or 5, 6 times a week. And I cover like LGBTQ stories in like 10 minutes or less. And Jesse was the story that came out in my news podcast on Friday. And my friend Matt was driving home from work and said, "Hey, I was listening to your news podcast and I know Jesse." And I like, "No, I don't think you do. Like, this is a gay hockey player." He goes, "No, I'm telling you." And he was texting me. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I don't believe you." And he called me and he goes, "I was roommates with him in DC." Like, I'm shocked. It's such a small world. And then we ended up having a phone call last night with Jesse, and he agreed to come on my podcast. And I feel so fortunate to be able to help Jesse tell his story because he's a fantastic person. He has an awesome vibe. And I have so much respect for him for coming out. And he is going to help so many people that maybe feel alone in today's world or feel like they can't come out or feel like they're the only ones. And his story is such an inspiration. And I hope you enjoy my episode with Jesse Kortuem. Thanks so much for listening. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have a super special guest. And I know I say that about some of my guests, but this guest really has an amazing story. So sit back and listen to Jesse Kortuem's story. If you don't know who Jesse is, I'll give you a 30-second intro. Jesse is a hockey player that has publicly come out within the last week or so on his Facebook channel. And he has got an really overwhelming reaction from people. obviously, Heated Rivalry had something to do with this. I did a news report on Jesse on my Listen Up Girl podcast where I do 10 minutes or less of LGBTQ plus news. My friend Matt was driving home from work and calls me and says, I think I know this Jesse. And I said, I don't think you do. And they know each other. They're good friends. They're on text messages together. So welcome to the show, Jesse.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Zach. Yeah.
So first of all, I'll just tell you when I did my news, I was so happy to see this because, I didn't know you, and I said, I'm so proud of you, Jesse. Like this is what I said in my newscast because I'm so proud and glad that you're changing things, and we need more people like you in this world today to change things. So thank you for doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it is something I've been, very private about for so long, but finally felt it was time to tell my story. Visibility matters, especially for younger people. So here I am standing on the shoulders of people that came before me to pave a better path. So hopefully I can do the same for younger queer hockey players.
Awesome. And so tell me why. First of all, let's start off at the beginning. You grew up in Minneapolis, right, or Minnesota?
That's correct. Yep, suburbs of Minneapolis. Yep.
And so obviously, it's a hockey town. You said you have 3 or 4 brothers.
I have 3 older brothers. Yes, I'm the youngest of 4 boys.
And you were all playing hockey?
Yes. We literally basically the minute you're born and you can walk, there's skates on your feet. So that's pretty much when you start. So
you were playing hockey, and at what point in your life did you kind of realize, oh, maybe I am gay, or maybe I like boys? Like when did you think that?
6th, 7th grade.
Okay.
You trying to think, you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't know that. I like girls. I think, oh, that guy's kind of cute.
Yeah.
But you don't really know how to handle that. I think just especially in those days, there wasn't anything positive to being gay at that point. So
yeah. And was Minneapolis area or Minnesota, they seem like a pretty liberal state, I think, for the most part. Like, would it have been accepted? Whenever I was growing up in the 6th or 7th grade, growing up in Miami, it would not have been accepted. Like, I would have had the shit beat out of me all the time if I would have said I was gay then.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Minneapolis proper obviously is that kind of liberal bubble. As you go around the suburbs, there are pockets that are pretty accepting. Where I was kind of a third ring suburb at the time. It's now completely exploded and grown and changed dramatically. I used to live in the boonies, what they would call, but now it's just another part of the town. So in that area, it was, pretty conservative. And so, there wasn't a lot of, political leanings there are not very favorable to somebody that would walk in my shoes.
Got it. And so you were 6th or 7th grade. Obviously, you kept it a secret. Who was the first person you told that you were gay? Did you meet somebody, a friend, or somebody you went to high school with? Like, who was the first person that found out?
Yeah, so it really wasn't until I was in college. Basically, at 21, I confided in one of my good friends from high school. I actually brought her to dinner and I was like, Rachel, I have something to tell you. And she thought it was something like medical, like I was dying or something. And I told her, and she just looked at me and she said, God, I'm proud of you. Like, you're a great guy. And that was really kind of the start of my journey. And then from there, obviously, I had to tell my parents, my brothers. But yeah, it was kind of a late coming out for me, but still remained closeted in other areas of my life. So.
And how did they take it whenever you told your parents who, were they accepting of it, or did they kind of pause?
Yeah. So, I'll never forget the conversation with my dad, verbatim, word for word. He said, I will love you no matter what. And he said, this is going to be a struggle for you. And he goes, the reason why I hate this is because people are going to have a different opinion of you. And you're a great person with a great heart. And it just breaks my heart as a parent that people might think differently of you because you're a hell of a guy.
Oh my God, you can't ask for anything better.
Right. And that to me, it just it really breaks my heart even to this day just to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it breaks my heart to think about it. I mean, you're so lucky because when I told my father, well, first of all, my mother asked me, and I had a bad roommate situation when I was living in South Beach in Florida, and I had to move back in with my parents for a little while during college. And my mother comes and says, "I need to ask you something." I'm like, "Oh shit! Like, don't ask me something you don't want to know." And she goes, "Well, your father wants me to ask you, like, are you gay?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh my God, do you have AIDS?" And I said, "No, mom."
Mm.
And then she goes, do you want to be a woman?" And I said, "No, mom, I'm just gay." And so she told my father, and again, I was living with my parents. And so me and my dad didn't talk for 6 months living in the same house
Wow.
together, which was very awkward.
Wow.
And then one day it was around Christmas time. I asked my mom, like, I think I'm leaving here for Christmas and going to stay with a friend or something. Like, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
here. It's too awkward. And then my dad came home from work, and I was in the kitchen, and he came and gave me a hug and said, "I love you no matter what." And then our whole relationship, I wasn't, I mean, my dad was very different than me when I was growing
Mhm.
up. So, but our relationship made a complete turn and we became closer than ever. So
Wow.
it's amazing. So like
Yeah, yeah.
he accepted it. They didn't keep it a secret from anybody after that. My mom would slowly start telling her friends, who are like, "Yeah, we know. We knew he was gay since he was a child. So we
Yeah.
knew." I'm like, Okay." And Mom, like, you never knew? She goes, "I never knew." But
Wow. Yeah, yeah. And I think too, for a lot of parents, it's when your kid does come out, your parents do have that vision for you as a child,
yep.
if that makes sense. They want that wedding to that girl or
Well, they wanted the grandchild.
true, exactly. So lucky for me, I have 11 nieces and nephews, so I'm think I'm
Okay,
out of
good.
that. You know, so
So, what kind of inspired you to write this Facebook post and put it out there? I mean, so I guess I'm assuming you watched Heated Rivalry and you
yes,
loved it as much as everybody else is loving
yeah,
it. And did you know when you were watching that you knew it was time?
I did. Especially that last episode to watch the acceptance of Shane's mom in that conversation that completely
Yeah,
broke me. I
yeah,
sobbed and sobbed and sobbed in her statement of just saying, I'm sorry you felt like you couldn't tell me. Like that really cut deep um,
yeah,
with me, but it really sparked something in me having lived that closeted hockey player life. It made me just realize that in my life I was living really playing on two different rinks.
hmm,
And so it I don't know, it stirred a lot of emotions in me. It really cut deep. It really spoke to me, obviously personally, living that dichotomy of being this athlete on the ice in this
yeah,
masculine environment, but then having this love for a man.
yeah. And was there ever any other players that you thought, oh, maybe they could be gay and maybe I could, or maybe they would be okay with it if I was gay that you wanted to talk to?
There was one player, I didn't think he was gay or anything, but I knew he was an advocate. We had carpooled together and he said something about, oh yeah, like one of my friends, blah 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 blah. We did this tournament and he's gay. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of took note of that.
Yeah.
And then one day out of our hockey league, he's like, hey man, I'm at Top Golf. Do you wanna let's just go to Top Golf? So all right, yeah, I met him at Top Golf, had a few beers, and then I just kind of like broke down and it was like, yo man, like I gotta tell you something. Like this has been really close to, this is a really hard thing to talk about. And I even cried at Top Golf in public, which is a little bit embarrassing, but
Yeah. No.
he just looked at me and he said, it's gonna be okay, man. Like hang in there.
Yeah.
So he was actually on my hockey league when I was living in Atlanta at the time. And so it just was time to confide in someone. I at that point I had met the gay hockey tournament in 2017. I'd met the LA Blades and Cutting Edges through that tournament. And that was really that paradigm shift for me where I finally had that safe space in hockey, but then I was
Mhm.
still playing in straight leagues, closeted, for up until 2022. So
I mean, obviously, hockey's super. There's a super masculine, piece that's there in hockey. But do you think that anybody would care today, or do you think there are people that, because it's such a masculine, there's so much masculinity in this sport that they were
Yeah,
like, yeah, I don't want that in my team.
yeah, yeah. I'll be honest. I don't think anyone is homophobic or doesn't want that on the team at all. I think actually most players would be accepting of a gay teammate. For those athletes that choose not to come out, I think there's a culture within hockey that it's a brotherhood, right?
Yeah,
You grow up together, you go to summer camps together, you're playing fall, winter, spring hockey together, and you lose together and you win together. There's no I in that team. So any
yeah,
interview you see with NHL players, it's always, if they ask the player, "Oh, you scored 3 goals tonight," it goes back to, "Hey, the guys, we all showed up tonight, happy that we worked hard to get this win. Great job by our goalie," and blah blah blah. So it's very much a brotherhood sport where there's no star on the team. And
hmm,
so those that choose to remain closeted is kind of for those reasons. It's nobody wants to have that attention on them. It could be positive or negative attention, depending on what how people accept them or not. And it's just a risk. I mean, these players
yeah,
lose endorsements. People's opinions will change overnight of this player,
yeah.
and that's the risk that people don't want to take. And I 100% respect that and get it.
And did any of your team reach out to you? Anybody that you played with?
Yeah. So a lot of my high school teammates reached out to me. That was really nice to see. My teammate Blake basically wrote that, "Hey, I wish we'd have showed up better for you.
Oh, awesome.
You're a great hockey player, and I just wish we could have done better." And then another teammate of mine from high school, Corey, reached out and just said, "Hey, man, like, you're a great teammate on and off the ice. Happy that you can finally be you." And so to see that outpouring of support from high school teammates when at those times in the 2000s, well, it was a scary place to be gay. That was the era of "that's so gay,"
Yeah,
or hearing can I say the word faggot or no?
yeah. You can say whatever you
Okay.
want.
All right. So, okay. But to hear that dropped jokingly, on the locker room or ice or things like that, did it mean to be harmful? No, I don't think so. Not at all in any way, shape,
Yeah.
or form. But it just contributed to that thought of this isn't that place that I could probably be myself.
What do you think people outside the sport misunderstand the most about kind of playing a professional sport like hockey? And, overall, like, not just, there's a lot of misunderstanding. I think shows like Heated Rivalry, even though it's not a documentary, it's a story that was written from a book. But what do people misunderstand about it? Because I mean, you're saying that these are your brothers, and you guys all support each other. Is there anything that people may not understand that you wish they did?
I mean, really, I kind of touched on that just in terms of like the brotherhood, and there's no quote star on the team. Yes, you have the Sidney Crosbys, the Alex Ovechkins, the Connor Bedards that are like the stars of these teams, right? But those are the ones that they don't live in the limelight. They're not out there boasting themselves. It's a very much a toned down stardom, if that makes sense. It's really a team mentality first, and it's
Yeah,
what's best for the team, what's best for the guys on the team. And for that reason, a lot of them don't want to step out into that light.
yeah. What's been the most surprising post or response that you've gotten?
Yeah. So last night, I've been overwhelmed clearly by
You didn't
um,
expect this at all to be this
not
big,
at
did
all.
you?
No.
Okay.
So just I've been completely overwhelmed. But last night, I was like, all right, I need to just post something else that like I thank you for the overwhelming support
Yeah.
and proving that this conversation was necessary. I've provided a lot of support for those that are still struggling. Trevor Project, National Suicide Prevention Hotline, Glad Media, as well as You Can Play, which is advocating for inclusivity in sports and safe sports. And on that post, somebody had written that they saw my story, and because of it, they came out to somebody at a family barbecue and they were accepted. And that, I sobbed. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Called my sister-in-law and read it, and I was like, this is what this is about. This is what I wanted. I want people to finally live their truth. And that cut deep.
Yeah. I mean, you really, I'm glad you're doing this. I'm glad you're like taking a moment to kind of realize the impact that you are giving people, because think about all, I mean, you're reaching hundreds of thousands, if not, a million people, or millions of people could read this story, especially when you're on talk shows like Good Morning America, or shows like, you're reaching a lot of people. So just think about all these people that are struggling in today's world, especially in this country, especially what's happening with this. I try not to get into politics too much on the show, but there's a lot of legislation and stuff about anti-LGBTQ plus and stuff. And so you're like that bright star. Whenever I'm doing my news podcast, I always try to find that positive story, and you were the positive story. And if you think about all of the people that you're reaching, that kid that lives in Nebraska that is gay and can't come out, but yet, or feels like he's alone, like he's the only gay kid, you're giving him that hope. And you really, I hope you continue keeping that in the back of your mind, because I think what you did, it's just amazing. I think, and again, whenever I said the news, I said I was so proud of you, because people aren't doing what you're doing now. People are doing the opposite. People are going back in the closet. People are hiding because they're not sure what's going to happen. And you gave so many people hope, and you're pushing the boundaries, and you're bringing people together. So do you think, have you thought about that deeply?
I haven't until I read that last night, to truly understand that visibility matters. My story matters. And it's not even about my story, I'll be honest. Like it's unreal. I don't know. It feels good. It feels good. My mission is really to create that safe place in hockey, in all sports, for people, for those that are feeling down, that are feeling like there's no hope. I hope that this message can reach those that need to hear it most, that it's going to be okay. There are people out there. There is a community out there that's going to love and accept you.
And it's not only about the sports piece or hockey. It's also, you're just giving gay people or LGBTQ plus people just more hope by coming out. Because I think it's so incredibly brave that you did this. And it says so much about who you are as a person, that you stood up, you're like, yep, I'm going to do this. And you could have had a horrible backlash for things, and you're getting just the opposite, where people are, congratulating you, and really, they're celebrating you at this point, I think, in a lot of ways. So it's got to feel amazing that you had this much impact with one post.
Yeah, thanks. And for me, it really made me realize that I was not expecting this overwhelming response to it. But if I can reach that closeted kid that's playing hockey right now in Fargo, North Dakota, or that collegiate player that's struggling, and provide that glimmer of hope that it does get better, there is a community out there for you, that's really the mission. I stand on the shoulders of those that came before me, that paved the way to make my life a better place. If I can do that for younger hockey players, that's really the goal out of all of this. And also change the minds maybe of parents, coaches, fans, and let teammates know that, hey, your language in the locker room matters.
Yeah.
Your language on the ice matters. Your language as parents matters when you're in the stands as well.
Yeah. Do you look at other athletes that have come out? And do you, I mean, they've had a pretty good impact as well with things. Colton came out, and he's living his best life now. And, that's, again, I think it's just so amazing, because like you said, if you have sponsorships or, you could be totally banned from doing things in the future because if you're coming out and you're risking a lot. So that's, have any of them reached out to you yet?
I have not had a chance to go through a lot of my messages, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I
You're going to
actually
need a
had to
publicist.
I actually called one of my friends and I said, "Here's my logins for things. I can't even keep up with what's coming in." So she, God bless her, has been helping me kind of sift through things and getting responses out there. I have another friend, Brett, that is friends with my friend Nate, and he's like, "Hey, he's willing to help you out." So we
Yeah.
actually on was it Wednesday night, I think, or Thursday night, we actually at like 10 o'clock at night, we created just like a group chat where it was like, I don't know what to do. So Lindsay's screenshotting things. Brett's like, yeah, take the interview, don't take the interview. And really just trying to get this message out there and provide a platform to provide that hope for people.
What do you want to do like after all this kind of slows down? Like what's kind of your goal for this after this? And I know you didn't have a goal for it whenever you kind of put the message out. You just wanted to just come out and say it because you felt like it was time. But now you have a platform that you could actually do a lot more with. So tell me about that, like what you're thinking.
Just initial thoughts is really just trying to make sports more inclusive for all athletes, hockey,
Hmm.
basketball, soccer, what have you. Making that a safe sport where every player can walk into that arena, that basketball court, get onto the soccer field, and just know that they can bring themselves 110% of themselves into that practice and into that game. So that's really the focus right now. If that means educating youth hockey associations on what does inclusivity or what does language look like and positive language, and other teammates or reaching teammates to be like, so hey, what if one of your teammates came and said he was gay? How would you handle that? What would your response be? Or that's really the goal right now is focusing on that safe place for athletes. Who knows
Hmm.
what the future holds, but that's really my mission. I'm just a beer league playing, adult hockey player that felt the need. It was time to share my story.
And if you could kind of go back to your 17-year-old self when you're playing, or 16-year-old self when you're playing hockey, what would you tell him today?
Maybe take a chance to be yourself. Back then,
Yeah.
my other teammate Darren reached out to me and said, if you would have told me, I would have had your back.
Yeah.
And to read that cut deep as well, just to know
Yeah.
that love and support would have been there. Um, but again, you're a
Yeah.
17-year-old kid in the 2000s, and there's not a lot of great representation in the media at that point. There was no gay hockey players that had come out at that point.
Yeah.
I think Luke Prokof, who came out when he signed with the Nashville Predators at 18, 19, completely changed and paved the way for gay hockey players. And I'm standing on his shoulders, and, hopefully his message and my message inspires those kids to hopefully be themselves and teach their teammates that you can be gay and play hockey.
And can we talk a little bit about Heated Rivalry? Like, whenever you heard this show was coming out, because I'll be honest, whenever I watched the first episode, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. It seems like it's just like softcore porn, and I'm not into it. I have two friends that are women that I've known since the 6th grade that were in a text chain together and do things together all the time. And they're like, oh, are you watching Heated Rivalry? I'm like, no, I'm not into it. Like, give it a chance. Like, you have to watch it. And I'm like, all right. So I went back to it after I got past the first episode, and I got into the second. I'm like, oh my God, this is like so much more than just these two guys hooking up. And then once I got to the third episode, and that was an incredible episode. And then I don't know, whenever he was in Russia talking to
Yeah.
him, I just was so like, I was so emotionally into it in so many ways. And the last episode, like you said, whenever his parents found out about it, when Shane's parents, it was such a perfect show. I mean,
Goodbye.
I'm so happy, and I I've been to hockey games before, and I don't follow it that often, but I'm actually going to a Bruins game next week. So
Nice. That's
I
great.
think
Yeah, yeah.
I think hockey is opening up now. Is going to be opened up to the whole LGBTQ plus community a lot more because of Heated Rivalry. But I wanted to ask you, kind of like, were you expecting to love this show whenever you heard about it, kind of coming out?
I had friends in Canada that sent me previews of it, and I was like, okay, I mean, that looks interesting. And they have the kind of the sizzle reel that came out. Canada's Shane
Yeah,
Hollander and Russia's Ilya Rozanov, right? So they kind of do that whole thing, and then you kind of see some of the kissing scenes, sex scenes, and things like that. And so I'm like, well, I mean, it's hockey. It's a gay hockey show. I play hockey. Let's give it a go.
yeah,
In the first episode, I'll be honest, I was hooked anyways, just because it is hockey.
yeah,
But seeing some of the kind of how the relationship or their kind of desire for each other started, it
hmm,
almost made me feel like a little bit of anxiety, because we don't get that happy ending, and we haven't gotten a lot of happy endings. I'm sorry, I don't want to say happy endings. So no, so it watching kind of their love develop for each other, it actually gave me a little bit of anxiety as these athletes. It almost thought like, okay, are they going to be found out? I never read the book, so I didn't realize they were going to get their Cinderella story, that this was going to be
yeah.
something that's beautiful and going to be celebrated. I actually lived in a panic watching kind of all the episodes, thinking like, all right, somebody's going to find out about this and this isn't going to go well. When the dad walked in at the cottage and then took off and left the house, I completely panicked about it all.
Same.
I thought the dad was just going to walk away and not accept his son. But to see the beauty in that scene of them eating pasta together and laughing and, oh, well, your boyfriend is here. He's like, boyfriend? What? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
But to have such a positive end to a story really hit hard. I think
yeah.
for gay hockey players, but any queer person, to finally see a gay romance story with a Cinderella story at the end is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Do you like one more than the other? Like if you had to date one of them, was there one that you were more attracted to? Because I'm all into to the Russian guy, Ilyanov. He's
Your team
so hot,
alien.
I think.
So it's
Yes,
funny you
Team
mentioned that.
Ilya.
We did at the tournament I was just at in Sun Peaks, British Columbia. We printed off all the different signs of kind of all the characters, and so everybody lined up, or we walked to the locker room like, okay, who are you, team, Kip? Are you team Ilya, Svetlana? They kind of went through all the characters. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of open, but I mean, I gravitated more towards team Scott Hunter.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Scott is. I've seen he did an interview with Andy Cohen, and I thought he did such a fantastic job on that interview. So and I also love it that the characters, even though people are speculating, well, actually the Scott Hunter player actually in real life came out and said he is bisexual.
Yes.
But the rest of them are not saying, really what they are, and people are dying to know and speculating
Yep.
what they are. So it's so interesting just how there's a culture shift now where, you know, they're not saying who they are or what they are and stuff in real life, and they just I get why they don't want to, because they just kind of want to keep the fantasy out there and like not tell. And they're getting so much attention. I
If they're
think just got back from an airport. I seen an interview where they're coming from an airport trying to get into their car, and they're bombarded by paparazzi. So it's their whole life is completely changed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just that little beer league playing hockey guy that decided to tell my story, and the amount of attention that I've gotten, I can't even imagine or even fathom
Yeah.
what their lives are like right now. Just the amount of inquiries they're getting, the
Yeah.
amount of messages, what have you, that those two are getting right now. I mean, it has to be insane. I
Yeah.
actually feel a little bit bad for them as well. They just wanted to make a beautiful show and a beautiful story, but also their story's resonating. Obviously, they're getting that attention because it is such a powerful story on screen.
And I love watching the TikTok videos where the straight husbands are sitting there watching it with their wives and the wife is recording them. And the straight guys are so into it. Like they're like rooting for them to like be together. And it just gives me hope again in this kind of crazy world that we're living in today where, this straight guy's like, yes, come on. Like you can be with them and, you can make this work. And it's beautiful. And one guy was like crying during one of the scenes, the straight husband and stuff. I don't know. I
Yeah,
love it that the reaction that we're getting from,
completely. And I know the Empty Netters guys, they did their podcast and they watched it live with all their viewers, bunch of straight guys talking about hockey. But
yeah,
it's beautiful. What is awesome to see is them rooting for these characters, right? But
yes.
at the end of the day, these are fictional characters, right? There are a lot of people still hurting that are trying to find their way. And I think it's important that we need to root for them as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, what you did is helping a lot of these people though. And I know it's insane what's happening with you right now with all these people wanting to talk to you and sending you DMs and you can't even keep up with it. But just always keep that in the back of your mind, what an amazing person you are for doing this. And I know again, that's not the reason why you did it is to get this attention, but you're helping so many people. People feel alone. All this, I mean, you're from Minneapolis, all the stuff that's happening and how they're hurting the residents of that
Yeah.
city. And so your story is possibly taking somebody's mind off of those type of things also. So and I hope you get that impact about how much you're throwing positivity in this world.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's starting to hit home. Reading that post last night, that I had even screenshot it and sent it to my brothers, and I'm like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
This is truly what I wanted out of all of this, where people to finally feel comfortable in their own shoes, to finally speak their truth. And it wasn't until I spoke my truth that I could encourage others to do that as well.
Yeah, awesome. So, if people do want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? From what I understand from an earlier conversation we had, you really weren't prepared for this. You didn't have an Instagram account or anything, and so you set that
Yeah.
up. Is that Instagram the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so just my Instagram is just Peloton Jesse. I'm a
Okay.
huge cyclist. That was the name I chose, and
Yeah.
it had 0 followers a couple days ago, and now we're at 11,000.
Yeah, you're gonna go up to you're gonna continue growing. So I the other funny thing is I'll just tell the audience that I actually sent you a DM the night before we talked on the phone to say, "Hey, Jesse, I just did a news story on you, and I would love to have you on my podcast." And our mutual friend Matt got us in touch. So you'll see that you'll whoever's monitoring your DMs now are going to say, "Hey, there's this podcast that wants to
Yeah,
do," and you can just tell them you already did it. So
exactly. I will. I definitely will.
and it's scary how small of a world it actually is that Matt, who's somebody I probably text with every other day, if not every day, is in contact with you. You were roommates, right?
Yeah, so we lived in DC. So we were roommates when we were all interns out there. I think he was interning for Greenpeace. I was interning for a congressman from Minnesota at the time. And we all kind of just met at this house. There are 8 of us. And we've kept this group chat going for 20 years, 15 years,
Wow.
something like that at this point. Just updates here or there, funny stories. And so Matt sent me a message yesterday. He's like, dude, you've gone viral. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I was talking to my mom and he called me again, and then he sent me a message, and I was like, all right, like, I'll give you a call, man, but I need to eat. I need to take a shower.
Yeah.
So called him last night. He looped you in, and here we are. So
Here we are. Yeah. Well, again, I'm so thankful for people like you, and I will, if you ever need to promote anything that comes up that you do in the future, because I think you're going to do some amazing things. I think, like you mentioned Trevor Project, I could see them reaching out to you to do something with them because it's so needed in today's world.
for
Well,
sure.
thank you so much. you were amazing as I knew you would be. And you're just, Matt has said nothing but amazing things about you over the last day or so. And he was right about everything. And I'm just so honored that I got to talk with you, because you are the type of person we need in this world. So thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, no, thank you, Zach. And thank you for giving me the platform to share that message and hopefully bring that light to those that are in a dark place at this time. Just want them to know there's hope out there. You'll get through this, and there's a huge community that is here to love and support you.
Awesome. So if you did not get Jesse's Instagram, I will put it in the description of this video or podcast. Reach out to him, send him a DM, tell him, send him a DM that's if he has impacted you, make him sob a little bit more. I think it's good for people to do that. So, so thanks everybody for joining. If this episode resonates with anyone you think that would like to hear about this, please share it with them and be sure to follow the show. And please follow Jesse and keep up with what he's going to do, because he's going to be doing amazing things in the future. So thanks everybody for listening, and thanks Jesse for being on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach.